Tonight I have with me William. Where did I get that from? Wilma Adams. Like, you're talking about you being nervous and you had to have a gin and tonic. You know, like, I'm not nervous, but just a bit tongue-tied. And we're on her couch, Wilma's couch. And we're talking tonight about, well, one of the things that we're talking about just now is about trust in people and restoring that faith of trust with people. So let's go back to, well, Wilma is from Germany. So the one thing that you said to me was there are some, you get a bit nervous because there are some little words that you don't know the English word to. So that's okay, because we'll just giggle our way through that and we won't worry about that. So, you know, if anyone else picks it up, well, you know, that's the reason why. Okay, so cool. We're going to talk about how you left Germany. How did all that happen? Like,
actually, it was a long life dream. Especially when I was a teenager, I was sitting at my parents' house on the windowsill, staring outside, and there were fields and a country road and cows behind. And I thought, there must be more than that. I want to see this. And my parents, they got married after the Second World War, had no money, really middle-class family, and I guess they struggled with 4 kids, and they never traveled anywhere. And I was listening to French music, I was listening to Arabian music, and just with this big desire to find out what else was out there, and I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how it all started, and yeah, I guess I took every opportunity to go.
You say that, like when we first met, there was a song playing, and you said that triggered a memory for you. So what was that memory?
Jim Croce, If I Could Save Time in a Bottle.
Yeah.
That song was a favorite song of my Australian neighbor, the only Australian I've ever met. The first one
this is in Germany?
No, this was in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. So how did you get to Hong Kong? Well, what sort of work were you in? Or were you working when you had that dream when you looked out at your parents' window? Were you,
okay.
How old were you?
Okay, I was around 14 when I started dreaming.
Yeah.
And then I did an apprenticeship in shipping and freight forwarding with the aim of using this to leave Germany.
That was smart.
Yeah, I don't know where it would lead me to, but my future boss, he was talking to New York with the world map behind him, and I said, yeah, that's what I want to do.
So did you actually like deliver parcels?
Oh, no.
No, what did you do?
No, big stuff. So a freight forwarder is someone in between. Someone has ships, any kind of transportation vessels, you know, container ships, trucks, planes, and then there's the client who has the cargo, and the freight forwarder in between finds the best price for the client, because they don't have the knowledge, but we do have the knowledge. We get a percentage out of this, and you know, this was my job. So I had an apprentice time of 2 years, and I just turned 18 when I finished. It was 1 week after being 18. And a colleague of mine who was 27 said, and we were on formal terms, Mr. and Miss. And he said, Miss Kreling, they want to send me to Tehran to be the managing director. Isn't that amazing? And I said, okay, can I come with you?
Wow.
And he said, I can't just take you with me. I mean, if we would be married, they would be there. I said, marry me then. Big deal. You signed something, I signed something. And then I can come with you. I look for a job, and, you know, that's it. That was Friday. And he said, you're crazy.
But he agreed.
On Monday he said, okay, I do it.
Wow.
And I said, okay, what do I need? You need a birth certificate, then we have to register. And so we registered on Wednesday, found my birth certificate. My father was really organized, typical German. And on Wednesday afternoon I asked my mother whether it's okay to bring someone for dinner. And she said, who are you bringing? I said, Mr. Rotkötter. We were still on formal terms. Okay.
So it was always Miss and Mr.
Yeah. So on Thursday I went ice skating, knocked at his door and said, you know, would you like to get to know me a little bit better, you know, private way? Come ice skating with me. And then on the ring, he said, I think it's time that we call each other by our first name.
Well, if you're going to marry him and go to, where did you go to? Tehran?
Yeah, to Iran. And so that was a step. And Friday night, first Thursday night, I asked him whether he can officially ask for my hand in marriage. And he said, it's not this kind of wedding and marriage. I said, please. So after dinner, he asked my father, oh, look, I don't really want to do it this way, but your daughter asked me to. I want to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage. My father looked at me up and down and stopped at my belly and he said, why?
Thinking you might be pregnant.
Yeah, so hey, I am not pregnant. I'm going to Iran.
Yeah.
I don't know what was worse. I don't really think my parents knew where Iran was in Tehran. Anyway, they were upset, didn't talk to me for at least 4 weeks and thought they should declare me insane.
So it was a marriage of convenience.
It was very, very much convenient. It was my ticket to freedom.
Wow. That's just crazy. So you've ended up there, and then how long did you stay with him for?
I stayed in Iran for 1 year. And it was not that I didn't like the job or that we didn't get on. I was traveling a lot for the company. I was working with competition. And but the Shah had to leave the country. Khomeini came out of exile from France, and the revolution started, and it was very unsafe for foreigners to stay in Tehran. So
what year was this?
that was 1979. Yeah, and and I mean, look, it was already quite an experience in Iran, and it was not like today where you had a GPS and mobile phones. You know?
And you were on your own travelling then?
I was travelling on my own.
Wow.
Yeah,
So did anything, do you want to tell us a couple of little stories that you've lived through whilst travelling on your own? Like, wow.
Okay, I was invincible.
Yeah.
I believed I was invincible, and I met so many beautiful people. But of course, there are also not beautiful people who, you know, it was still an Islamic country. A lot of women got upset if I wouldn't wear a full chador, like the full veil. Even so, the Shah wanted to rip it off women because he wanted to westernize the country. But on countrysides, the women were very hostile towards women who were not in a veil. So, okay, I learned how to wear a veil. It was quite a challenge because it's like a bed sheet and you have to put it into your mouth and hold it with your teeth.
Really?
Yeah.
To put it on? Is that the way you put them on?
Yeah, it's like a bed sheet and you hold it in your mouth. And anyway, yeah, but that was the smallest of all the things. As I said, I met some beautiful people, a lot of nice hospitality, but also some incidents which were a bit scary, to say the least. One time I broke down with a rented car in the middle of the desert on a highway, and people stopped and said, what can we do? When my Farsi was okay, I could communicate with people. And they said, we can't do anything. Here, have some carrots, have some water, because I was invincible, remember?
Yeah.
I didn't even need water.
So that's
or food, right?
That's gonna fix your car, isn't it? The carrots and the goat and a couple of sheep.
But they were sure that nothing can help me and I will just stay there until a miracle happened.
Really?
Yeah, obviously, you know, to leave me water and carrots, they just said, we can't do anything. And then it was already dark and 3 motocross drivers arrived at my car and I thought, well, this is my end. I was so scared. And I explained what was wrong with the car, and they were walking around, and then they were talking to one another very fast. I couldn't understand it, but they decided that they'd tow my car with 2 of the motorcycles to the next village, to a police station. And the 3rd one took me on his 1-seated motorbike.
Well, you can laugh about it now, but it would have been terrifying.
And he was always, the most scary part was, you know, I had all other thoughts what could happen, but the scariest part was he had music, he had loudspeakers on his motorbike handles, and he was always turning around and said, "You like the music?" Of course, in Farsi, and you know. Anyway, they brought me safely to the next police station. All my worries were for nothing. They were really beautiful men, and it's, you know, the scariest part then was the hotel. I think at least 20 other people must have slept in the bed, and a rat was looking at me while while I went to sleep. I just thought, I hope this is over soon.
Oh no, I can't do the rat thing at the best of times. But, oh, and I know you can laugh about that now, and you know, have a broad look on things, and not let it affect you how it once did way back then. And you know, we talked about a situation that you were travelling on your own, and you were actually put into a Turkish jail. So how did that happen?
Well, the company I was working for didn't get the work permit for me, so I had to leave the country every 3 months to come back as a tourist, and to wait for my application to go through. So the third time I crossed the border, the Turkish border officer said, "What are you smuggling?" And I said, "I'm not smuggling anything." And trucks were going through the border, and one guy stopped with his truck, and he was Austrian, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you in trouble?" "Yes." "What's your name?" I told him my name. I said, "Go to the German embassy." And thankful he did.
Wow.
You know.
Gosh, what would have happened? Well, you just wonder what would have happened.
It was.
Well, you can't even imagine, can you, if you had not have done what he did?
It was 3 days before Christmas. Very hard to find someone at an embassy at that time.
Oh dear, but he did it.
But after 5 days, I was taken out of misery because, you know, it was, you know, quite a harsh treatment at jail. They wanted to know what kind of purpose I had to cross the border. I think they knew, but it was also fun to scare a Western woman.
Yeah.
You know, let's put it this way.
And it hasn't, like these incidences that it hasn't stopped you from travelling?
No, it hasn't stopped me from travelling. I came out quite shocked, and first I thought, wow, I'm not doing this anymore, but I decided that fear should not rule my life. You know, I was 20 and there was so much more to see. Remember the windowsill?
Yes.
And I was sitting on this windowsill, and I only had Iran and Afghanistan and Turkey. So I needed all these other countries.
And you've landed in Australia. Wow.
I never thought I would. Probably the safest country I've ever been to.
Oh, thankfully. And I mean, each time you've travelled, do you often think about, you know, if or but or maybe?
Look, I think times have changed. And that has changed because if you switch on the news, if you go on the internet and you let it happen to you, you can get up to your eyeballs full of fear. You know, you switch on TV and you hear 20 times that someone was shot in Melbourne or in Perth, and this is happening and this is happening. But I found that the majority of people are beautiful. And they want to help, and I carry this on as well. You know, when I see strangers, my son always shouted at me, "Why do you pick up hitchhikers?" And I said, because, hey, they could be you. You know, they could have been me. You know, I was so happy that people looked after me. I want to look after people now. You know, I want to give back. And everyone I help or, you know, I assist when they're traveling, I say, hey, one day you can pass that on.
Oh, so you help people now when they're travelling, like
if I have a chance. If I have a chance, and you know, because I had really good experiences, I had bad experiences, but I don't want fear to conquer.
Yeah, very, very important, isn't it? So you're obviously not in that industry any longer.
No, I'm not.
So what do you do now?
I'm Hawaiian massage therapist, and I'm also a relationship and sexuality coach.
Well, there you go. Gosh, how does someone coach someone through that? I mean, gosh.
Hey, we all have it and we all do it.
Yeah, well,
We have
ain't
relationships.
that the truth?
We have sexuality. Sometimes there's a mismatch with two. You have a great relationship but not a good sex life, or you have a fantastic sex life but you don't have a good communication. And when I mean relationship, it's not just with a partner. You know, we have a relationship now. You know, a relationship with colleagues, with friends. And I try to help people to learn about positive communication and not be hurtful when they communicate. And especially for couples like our age, when the kids left the house and suddenly they go, wow, what do we do now?
What do we do now? Wow, we haven't got anyone to interrupt us, so there is no excuses.
That's right.
And you can only have so many headaches.
And that's right. And things you liked 20 years ago you might not like anymore. But how do you broach the subject, and you know, how to communicate about it, and also how do you get back into your own body and talk about it with your partner?
That would be hard for a lot of people, I would gather.
Yeah, and I found this especially, sorry to say, but in Australia people have a lot of shame and guilt about their sexuality. And I was born in Germany, and quite often people tell me, well, I've never seen my parents naked. I've hardly seen them dressed.
Wow.
You know, a good weekend for us would be go to a mixed sauna with my parents, grandparents, uncles, nephews, nieces.
Because that's a traditional thing, isn't it?
Not so much, I don't know, traditional, but, you know, just I had a really open upbringing. Everything came on the table. We, you know, if there was a question, it was answered.
Which is a good way to be, I think.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to be upfront and honest about things like that, instead of,
Yeah.
you know, trying to dance around the subject a bit, you know, to be upfront.
There's no reason to have all these taboos. You know, it's, and yeah, I find when I came to Australia, I thought I would like to bring the idea, or the ideas I got in Germany, to Australia and help people with this. And my training in Hawaiian massage helps a lot with the tactile connection with people. And yeah, and then people can take it from there.
So, just one little thing. How did you end up in Australia? How did you get here? I know you travel. Tell me the countries you've been to.
Wow. Okay.
There are two questions.
Okay. I know the Middle East better than Germany.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I've traveled a bit in Europe, but I did this since I've lived in Australia. Because when my parents were still alive, I was traveling to Germany to see them, and then I would do a little side tours to other places in Europe. I didn't appreciate Europe when I was living there as much as I do now, because in half an hour you're in London from
It's crazy, isn't it? It's
know?
just crazy to even imagine
45 minutes you're in
Considering
Rome.
where we are, like, you know, wow, you have to travel so far even to get the other side of us.
Yeah. So I did a bit of traveling in Europe. I've been to America work-wise and on leisure trips. I worked for a Japanese company, freelance for trade fairs. So I've been to Japan a few times.
Where was
Korea,
your favourite
Taiwan.
place that you've been?
My favourite place?
It's all right, you don't have to say Australia because you're on air.
Oh, look, every place has its specialty. I love Italy. I love the language. I love the food. It's very exciting. I just came back from Japan. It's all beautiful. Okay, I'll give you an example. When my mother was still alive and I was visiting, and I was on my way back home to Hong Kong, and my mother said, "Oh, darling, why don't you get a job here? You're at home here." And I said, "No, I'm at home in Hong Kong now." And I tried to explain it to her, and my explanation for myself and her was, where my heart, my friends are. This is my home. I think people make a home very much.
Yes.
You know, and now I'm really torn between places because my son lives in Germany. And my beautiful husband and my married Australian family is here, but my family lives in Germany.
Yeah, that
And
would be hard.
Sometimes that's a bit,
Yeah, but then that's an excuse to go backwards and forwards.
Yeah, I use that
Or
often.
to get them to come here or something,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it'd be like to have your children in another country.
Yeah.
It must be hard.
Look, one thing I understand, listen to your parents, because my mother, of course, she was quite distressed. I was 1 out of 4 children who was always away. And I remember one day when I said, okay, Mum, I'm going back to wherever I was at the time. I think I already lived in Australia. And she had asthma and she was not well. And she said, it's your fault that I'm so sick. And I said, no, Mum, you smoked a lot in your life.
That's probably got
You
something to
abused
do
your
with
coffee.
it.
You abused your body, so don't blame it on me. And she said, wait until you have your own children. I said, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and isn't it funny? It is.
And now I have my own child and I can feel it. But then again, now we have so many possibilities with communication. At any time, ask my son, he suffers. I go on Skype or
Yeah, we're not that far away, are we?
FaceTime, and he just wakes up. Well, yeah, well, what do you want?
They're not that far away, really.
No, that's right.
Because we have got access to a lot of technology to be able to bring them closer to us. So we are very fortunate in that way. The one thing we were talking about previously was, because I said the one thing that I ask all my guests is to give a little message of hope. And I know we didn't kind of go into detail with a couple of incidences because, it is painful and these things need to be left alone. The fact of the matter is that you did travel, you went through a lot of things, you come out the other side a very happy and positive person, and that's, a wonderful thing. So I'm wondering if the message that we were talking about was to have trust in people, because when you were travelling, you did have to trust. And I've been there myself where I've had to trust certain people to make sure that I get home in one piece. That's another thing. So what would be your message to others out there, so about trust? So if you want to just turn around and look into the camera there, and you've got a couple of minutes to give a little message to my viewers.
Okay. One thing I mentioned before, don't let fear conquer your life. Because life is so short and it's finite. So if you let fear rule your life, there's not much left. I learned from my travels and my experiences in the world that everyone is beautiful and warm deep inside. Sometimes people turn into something they don't really want to be. It might be, their social environment, it might be peer pressure. But think about, every person is born as a baby and they're good. So we just have to find this good and, pay things forward. What goes around comes around. You go through patches which are not so good, but I found there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes you can't see it. Just look a bit closer.
It'll come.
Yeah.
So, each and every week I thank some of my viewers, and I know I can't mention you all, but Leanne Rugg, thank you very much. Shireen Lowe, Georgina Harry, thank you so much. Debbie O'Donoghue, thank you, Debbie. Monica Gilbert, Jackie McCormack Saunders. Why such long names, Jackie? Shireen Smith, thank you, Shireen Smith. I know you're at home and not well tonight, and sending you all these lovely little warm hugs of hope you feel better. Frank Day, hi Uncle Frank. Kylie Quinn, Amber Sterling, Jan Millington, and whoever out there is watching, thank you so much for being so supportive each and every week. and I look forward to next week. Okay then, bye for now.